Richard Merritt is about to be cross-examined. Look at his body language. The jury isn't in the room just now. Watch how he changes when he's in front of them. Look at how much he's fidgeting, how he grooms himself. Look at the tension in his shoulders.
Mr. Merritt, what you said happened in front of your eyes on February 1st, 2019 must have been horrifying for you.
It was.
You said that it shook you up.
Absolutely.
Notice the difference between now and when he was allowed to give his narrative in the volume of his voice and how long he goes on in his answers.
You were afraid for your own life?
I was so traumatized by what happened to my mother, I really wasn't worried about myself at that point.
Okay, but you were concerned for your wife and your daughter and your son?
Yes.
He's not worried about himself. He wants everyone to think he's strong and noble. Image is so important to this guy.
And you were so scared that you got out of there as fast as you could, right?
I did.
Okay. Made the decision not to turn yourself into the Cobb County Jail, right?
Correct.
And instead you cut your ankle monitor off.
Yes.
But before you even did that, you made some stops along the way. You stopped at a Kroger You stopped at a Kroger first, correct?
No, I didn't actually stop there.
Okay, but you stopped in the parking lot and you drove around the parking lot in the Kroger, right?
Correct, I did.
Okay, because you didn't need gas at that point because your mom's car was full enough to get you out of there. That's what you testified to, correct?
To get me most of the way there, yes.
Okay, and then you stopped at a QT in Norcross, and we saw the video of that. Do you recall?
I did.
Okay, and you were there for how long? Do you remember?
I honestly don't remember.
Okay, did you feel that you were being chased at that point?
At that point, no, I did not.
Okay, did you feel like your life was in danger at that point?
I didn't know, honestly.
Okay, so you bought waters and a candy bar.
Yes.
Okay, and then you drove around 285 West, and you took the 75 North exit, right?
Correct.
Now, tell me if I'm wrong, but your wife's practice is over in Vinings, kind of on West Paces Ferry and Paces Mill, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so you passed that exit when you got onto 75 North.
Look at him. He's trying to figure out where she's going. He has given her some mocking glances during the trial, and given his pattern of behavior through his life, I think he thinks he's smarter than she is and smarter than the jury.
Correct.
And you did not stop to tell your wife that you had just watched your mother being killed and her life was in danger, correct?
No, I did not.
Okay, and your son's school, Lovett, is just down the street from that. It's on West Paces Ferry, is that right?
Yes.
And you did not make any efforts to take that exit, which is the exit before the exit to your wife's veterinarian clinic, to pick up your son from school or alert anyone that his life was in danger.
My son, I believe, was with his grandfather that day. He wasn't at school.
Okay, but you never made any phone calls to your wife, correct?
No, I did not.
You never called Jack's school, right?
He says, "No, I did not." As if he's saying, "Of course not." Like, that's reasonable and obvious and how it's supposed to be.
No, I did not.
You never called Mia's school, right?
No, I did not.
Long pause before he answers that one. He knows it's unreasonable to not call his daughter's school when he knows she's there and purportedly in grave danger.
And so Jack was with Sal, that's your previous father-in-law. Did you ever call Sal Minicosi to let him know that you had seen this horrible event and that he and your entire family were in danger?
I didn't call any of them because the killers told me don't say a word to anyone, so I took them at their word based on what they did.
If someone killed a person in front of me, I wouldn't take that as an indicator of trustworthiness. These people allegedly came in and acted completely irrational They gain nothing, but he expects them to act rationally? Who's not being rational here? Or maybe he's expecting that no one else is rational and they'll just believe him.
Okay, but they weren't following you, right?
I don't know if they were following me or not.
Okay, all right, so they could have very well been behind you.
He doesn't know if the killers are following him. Look at the ankle monitor information. Did he take evasive action driving? No, but he did stop for a snack.
It's entirely possible. I have no idea what vehicle they were in.
Okay, and a safe place to go would have been the Cobb County Jail, which you drove right past on 75 North. Is that correct?
The instructions were, and I took them at their word based on what they did to my mother, don't say a word to anyone.
The instructions were, in a tone like he's talking to a 12-year-old who won't listen. And it truly is very much like that. He stated something, and that's the end of it. But she's not going to shut up and obey, and he doesn't like it. He regards her with both contempt and fear.
The last place to go would be to somewhere like the Cobb County Jail.
And why is that?
Well, you have law enforcement there. If they have people in Cobb County, they know a report. I'm more likely to say something because I'm in the safety of the jail. That made no sense to me whatsoever.
In spite of being traumatized and fearing for his family, he's able to engage in these mental gymnastics. But he can't think of any way to protect his family other than to listen to Tweedledee and Tweedledum, who told him to be quiet. All righty then.
Okay, so you didn't make any calls to anybody to warn them that their lives were in danger, right?
These gentlemen told me, and I use gentlemen very sarcastically, these monsters told me, don't say a word to anyone. After what they did to my mother, I didn't say a word to anyone, without qualification.
Okay, so these monsters, do you think that they were the same people who had been chasing your house starting at the beginning of January?
Well, they sure knew we had a basement right off the rip.
Okay, and how many times had people driven off around the cul-de-sac, or driven around the cul-de-sac as you testified earlier?
Suspiciously, at least 20 or 30 times by my count.
20 or 30 times? Did you ever get any of their tag numbers?
It would have been possible to run out there in the dark and get their tag numbers.
Did you?
Oh, so they only show up at night? And if it's too dark to see, how does he know they're not friends of his neighbors? Because that doesn't serve him. And if they're driving by, how are they seeing in the basement and learning the location of the dumbbells for when they go there with their pistols during the day? Ludicrous, you say? How can that be when he's so much smarter than everyone else, including the prosecutor, who has already thrown him off his game?
Did you ever call the police to say, oh my gosh, somebody is following me? Did you ever do that?
Actually, my mother and I did discuss it.
You discussed it, but you never called the police, and you never made a report of people casing your house or running around the cul-de-sac in their cars, right?
No, we didn't.
Did you ever talk to any of the neighbors about what was going on?
Ooh, long pause. If he'd spoken with neighbors, there would have been a stack of subpoenas issued by the defense. If he didn't talk to them, he has no concern for their safety.
I didn't. I can't say if my mother did or not.
Okay. So you weren't concerned at this point about these people riding around in the cul-de-sac because you obviously didn't do anything to prevent it from happening in the future.
Quite the opposite, ma'am. I told my lawyer immediately when it happened, who did absolutely nothing.
Anger, blame, injustice. He's the victim.
Okay, all right. And you knew he did absolutely nothing.
He told me he was actually going to reach out to his contacts at the DA's office, where he used to work alongside the person who prosecuted me.
Here we go. It's coming out. The wound collector. He's got his arms and hands locked down, but he can't control that side-to-side head bobble. That anger and contempt oozing out. The insinuation that the lawyers are corrupt, not him, in spite of what he'd been convicted of. Injustice, blame, victim stance, and where did all his pretend accountability go?
As well as his contacts with law enforcement and Cobb, they all did absolutely nothing.
Okay, but did you ever call DeKalb County Police? Because that's where your mother's house was located.
No, I didn't call, and neither did my mother, to my knowledge.
Okay, and you understand that DeKalb County Police would have jurisdiction over your mother's house?
Of course they would, ma'am, but the root of the activity was all indications sourced out of Cobb County.
All right.
The ma'am is meant to be disdainful, by the way. All indications sourced out of Cobb County? Oh? What indications? How did he learn this? She's not fazed.
So these two, you called them monsters, right?
Yes.
You've never seen these guys in your life?
Never.
And they were both kind of big. You said one was pudgy. What about the other one?
He was athletic and thin.
Okay, and could you describe what they were wearing?
Yes, I can.
What was that?
The athletic thin one was wearing sort of a black thermal long sleeve top and what looked like dicky khaki pants.
Okay, and what kind of gun was he holding? Could you see?
I'm not a gun guy, but it was a semi-automatic, sort of like the police have. It was not a revolver.
What color was it?
It was black.
It was black. Like, of course. As if she should know that. Or maybe he thinks all guns are black.
All right, and what about the other guy? What did he look like? You said he was pudgy, but how else did he look?
I was pudgy, had shoulder-length brown hair, brown eyes, 5'8", 5'9", and he was wearing a camouflage hoodie.
Okay, did he have the hoodie up?
No.
Okay, so you got a knock on the door after being followed or having people suspiciously drive around your neighborhood for several weeks, right?
Yes.
And this was the day that you were supposed to turn yourself into the jail.
Yes, it was.
And you looked out the window, right?
I did.
And you saw that there was a guy all in black, right?
I didn't say it was all in black.
A black shirt and dicky pants.
He was wearing a black top, that was it.
And a guy wearing a camouflage hoodie, right?
And blue jeans. Yeah.
And you had never seen these guys before, but you decided to answer the door.
I opened the door. We did not have a peephole in the door.
He just said he looked out the window.
It was not uncommon to just open the door. Could have been a neighbor, could have been anybody. I certainly didn't expect that in the middle of the day.
Okay. And they held you up at gunpoint?
Yes, they said, let us in now.
They didn't shoot you?
No, they didn't shoot me.
They didn't shoot your mom?
No, they did not.
In fact, is it fair to say that they killed her with the kitchen knife from her own knife block?
I believe they did, yes.
Okay. And you wrote letters while you were in custody for this offense. Is that correct?
Yes.
You wrote many, many letters to your friends and family members, correct?
Mainly family members, yes.
Okay, specifically you wrote letters to Jean?
Yes.
And you wrote letters to your brother Rob?
Yes.
Okay. And you told them that it wouldn't be unlikely that your fingerprints would be on that knife, correct?
Whoa. Proactively explaining away the evidence he thinks is there. That house was immaculately clean. Does he use the knife and put it back in the block without washing it? And listen to that long pause before he answers. He didn't expect that to come in.
From the standpoint that we all use the knives in the kitchen, I lived in the house, it very well could be on there. I don't know.
Did you tell him any fingerprints that may exist are easily explained as the dumbbells were mine? Did you tell him that?
Yes, I did.
And I regularly use the knife in question to prepare food, correct?
Yes, I did.
And you said you worked out 3 to 4 times per month and you were living there for 10 months, so it would not be hard to explain that evidence away if it were to appear.
Correct, because I knew what the murder weapons were because I saw the gentleman who used them, absolutely.
Okay, but you never told him anything about the 2 guys who came into the house with guns and bludgeoned your mother to death.
You really don't have that kind of capacity to write from being incarcerated. I told him the key facts.
Key facts? My fingerprints might be there is a key fact, but I saw Mom get killed is not? Your lives are in danger isn't a key fact. And by his logic, he says if he goes to jail, the killers might strike. And now that he's in jail, he doesn't warn anybody. And watch his respiration. It's up. He's tracking her with his eyes. He's in fight or flight.
Oh, okay. You told him the key facts that 2 guys broke into your mother's house?
I don't recall if I told him that or not.
What? How do you not recall whether or not you told that after all this?
Okay, and in fact, what you actually told him is the timing and substance of this disclosure will all make sense.
Yes, because I knew that I didn't do it, and I would have to sit here in my defense one day, absolutely.
But you never said anything to Janine about these 2 guys who were supposedly out and knew her whereabouts in any of these letters, right?
Janine wasn't reading anything I sent her.
Okay, and what about your brother? You never said, listen, these 2 guys are out, they've got photographs of our family on the phone, and you need to look into this, you need to do something and keep everyone safe.
I had absolutely no confidence that law enforcement would do anything at that point because they took out the warrant for the murder of my mother the same day they found the body and investigated nobody else.
Whoop. There's that side-to-side head bobble again. Everyone's an idiot. He's been wronged. Injustice, blame, victim stance, contempt.
Okay, and you did take, so you said you took your mother's car, right?
Yes.
And you took your mother's phone as well, right?
Yes, I did.
And that doesn't make a lot of sense. Can you explain why you took your mother's phone?
I took my phone, of course, and I took her phone because of all the calls we had been getting on both my phone and her phone. I assumed that these were the same folks who had been calling us that had killed her. They might have some sort of demands. Janine might call my phone or my mother's phone if these guys made a move on her or the kids, and I wanted to know exactly what was going on. That's why I took both phones.
You've seen the phone records that the state admitted into evidence, didn't you?
Of course.
Okay, both you...
His mouth is very dry. He's trying to look cool, but he is not.
And you've had the opportunity to review those phone records, right?
Yes.
And there were phone calls made to both your phone and your mother's phone while you were on the run, right?
If I don't recall anybody calling me while I was on my phone anyway.
Okay.
She may have received some texts. A lot of those were SMS, not necessarily phone calls.
You never picked up any phone calls to your mother's phone on February 1st, 2019, did you?
No, but if I recall correctly, the calls that came in were people in her contacts, so I had no worries that they were the ones who killed her.
Okay. And you got rid of those phones?
Yes.
You got rid of them before you even cut the ankle monitor off, or around the time that you cut the ankle monitor
Yes,
off?
I don't dispute the data or your expert.
So there was never any intent to turn them over to the police so that they could see whether anyone was after your mom or asking for demands, as you mentioned before?
No, because I took them at their word. Say nothing or this will happen to your family.
Okay. So whose idea was it to turn Mike Jeffcoat down that morning?
It was actually my mother's suggestion. She says, I don't really need Mike to come today. And I said, okay, as long as you're able to drive and get yourself back.
His testimony was that they discussed it the night before, not that day. And how much of a discussion did they have on the day if that text was sent 1 minute or less after he returned home?
All right.
That was the extent of the conversation.
All right. And, but both you and she texted Mike. Are you aware of that?
Of course.
Okay. You went to Nashville. Is that the first place you went, or did you stop anywhere else along the way?
I believe I stopped in Chattanooga to use the bathroom at a Walmart.
Okay. And you spent those entire 8 months in Nashville, right?
Yes.
All right. Let's be clear, the name you used was Mick Malvo. Where did that name come from?
The alias that I used was from New Orleans. It was a Cajun-sounding name. That's why I picked it.
All right, and you made this driver's license, State's Exhibit 82, yourself, right?
Yeah, I got the template online, yes.
Okay, and you actually had the sleeves that you put driver's licenses in, or at least the kind that you put this in your car when it was collected, right?
I printed it off and believe the business card, plastic laminates, that's what I got.
All right, and even the birth date on this is incorrect.
Yes.
All right, because it says here that you were born on February 25th of 1980, right?
Correct.
When actually your birthday is February 23rd, 1974.
That's right.
Okay, so you subtracted 6 years on your age because you didn't want to get caught.
I did not want to get found and have my family hurt as a result. I was trying to disappear to protect them.
All right, but you did go on to a dating app and meet women on that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you didn't have any concern about putting your information out on a dating app, did you?
What information specifically?
Any of it.
Well, I wasn't putting information out there as Richard Merritt.
Okay.
No, he was just putting his face online. Because these weird killers are more likely to look up his driver's license than to be on the internet, and he needed to find someone to use. Oh, what? The police could track his driver's license? Gee, who knew, eh?
All right. And did you speak with a New Orleans accent to Kelly?
Look, he's a little more hunched over. Those shoulders are coming in. Instinctual self-protection rather than a thought-out strategy. His composure slips, he remembers, he tries to gather himself back up, but he slips again. He can't help it.
No.
All right. And you were never a marketing executive, right?
No, I was not.
That was just something you made up to create this new persona of Mick Malvo.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. And you did not go to LSU.
No.
You were a Georgia fan.
I went to Georgia, yes.
And you weren't an LSU fan.
No.
And you were not a Saints fan.
Actually, I have been a Saints fan my whole life.
Okay. But you put those stickers on your mother's car as part of this persona of Mick Malvo.
Yes, I did.
Okay. So that was part of the deception, is that right?
I would call it protection.
All right. And you also put a stolen license plate on your mom's car.
This is true, I did.
All right. So that was part of the lie as well, because you didn't want to be found by these monsters.
Absolutely right.
Or the cops.
That would lead to the monsters, absolutely right.
Okay. And you said that you were staying with cousins in Nashville, correct?
I believe that is something I said, yes.
But that's not true either. Is it?
No, it wasn't true.
You didn't have any cousins or family in Nashville?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. And so you didn't really have a place to stay in Nashville?
Not at first, no.
Okay, until you met Kelly.
Correct.
So you were using her for a place to live. Is that right?
I wouldn't go that far, no.
It's not an indignant no, or just a no. It's meh, I wouldn't go that far. So, sort of.
Okay. You told Kelly that you did not have any kids, correct?
That's true.
And you said you had a niece, though, with cerebral palsy.
I did.
And you never said anything about any kind of nephew, right?
No, I did not.
You said that your mom had died of leukemia. Is that a lie that you told?
That's what I told her.
Okay. And you grew your hair and beard out while you were there?
Yes.
And again, that was part of the persona of Mick Malvo, because you didn't want to get caught by these alleged monsters, right?
Yes, that's
And
true.
you didn't want to get arrested either.
Well, that would definitely lead to compromising my family, yes.
All right. Mr. Merritt, when you originally stole money from your clients, you stole what, about $500,000, more or less, right?
Yes, correct.
And most of these clients were elderly,
Not most of them, about a third.
About a third, okay. Are you aware that the average age of the clients who are listed as your victims in the indictment is 61.2 years old?
I wasn't specifically targeting the elderly. I believe the law states that 65 and older is elder exploitation.
He has been convicted on that. But he's going to split hairs? No, that one was 64 and 11 months, so it's not so bad. They were injured, vulnerable people who trusted him. But hey, only a third were technically elders.
Okay, most of your victims were in their 60s and 70s. Is that right?
I really don't know the numbers, ma'am.
Okay, and they had been injured in car accidents and other kind of insurance claims. That's kind of the meat of the folks that you were representing and that you stole from. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you would tell them, you would settle their claims with the insurance company and not tell the clients that you had settled, right?
That's what I did.
And so you would take their money from the insurance company and keep it as your own, right?
Well, it would be put back into the firm for the most part, but yes.
Now he doesn't know how old they were because it doesn't serve him at the moment. And he stole, but he wants to make the distinction that most of the money went to the firm. That's his firm.
Okay, and you also promised to put some money in your escrow account for certain clients, right?
Yes.
And again, you didn't put any of that money in an escrow account.
Pled to all this in January of 2018.
Okay.
I pled to this, so why are you bothering me?
And you did this because the firm was in trouble.
It was, yes.
Okay.
Actually in trouble.
So, is it fair to say, Mr. Merritt, that when you're in trouble, you lie to try to get out of it?
Zing!
I don't believe that's fair to say at all.
Okay. Is it fair to say that when your firm was in trouble, you deceived many of your clients, at least the 17 listed in the indictment?
That is correct. I pled to that, yes.
Okay.
Oh, 15-ish is 17. And it doesn't matter at the moment what answers he gives because the jury is hearing her. She is making her point.
And is it fair to say that you deceived the people who you worked with and worked for at Betty's Grill as to your name and where you were from and who you were? Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, and is it fair to say that you made up an entire story and told a lie to Kelly Richardson because that would be a convenient way for you to get what you needed at that time?
I genuinely cared for Kelly. I didn't need her for a place to stay.
Okay, and yet your entire relationship with her was a lie.
Parts of it, yes.
Okay. So is it fair to say that you have lied and deceived to get out of trouble in the past?
I don't think that's fair to say.
Okay.
He has been convicted of multiple felonies involving lying and deceiving to get what he wanted. He is an established liar and deceiver. He does it to everyone. But that's not fair to say. Why? Because if he doesn't like it, then it's not fair.
Okay, so the day of February 1st, 2019, these two guys came in, they killed your mother with her kitchen knife and your weight, right?
Yes, they're my weights.
And they didn't steal anything from the house.
I don't know if they did or not.
Okay, and they didn't break in. You said that you let them in yourself.
No, I'm not aware that they tried to break in before.
Okay, and they had never tried to break in prior to that.
I can't say who tried to break in at any given point.
Okay.
I don't know.
Because nobody, as far as you know, had tried to break into your house prior to that.
I'm not aware of anybody trying to break in, no.
Okay. But they did not leave a scratch on you.
They roughed me up a little bit going down the stairs, but no, they didn't.
Okay. And you were the person who they were after, right?
I'm quite certain that that was their intent when they came there, yes.
Okay. But they just let you go scot-free?
I believe when my mother started to get loud, that's when the gentleman pushed her, and then he finished her off so she wouldn't make any noise. That's what I personally think, and they didn't realize what they got into and they took off. I don't know what their real intentions were. We never got that far.
Okay. They never pulled the triggers of either of those guns?
No, they did not.
Okay. And there was no struggle that caused any furniture to tip over, right?
I don't recall any, no.
Okay. Where did they get that knife from?
I believe they got it from the butcher block in the kitchen.
Okay. I don't have anything further.
The gentleman in question is Richard Merritt. The monster who did this is Richard Merritt. Thank you for listening.